Hello, the two most important points in any person's life are when a person turns 18 and is about to go to university, or when a person turns 60 and has decided to permanently retire from their day job. Enough money at either one of these points in their life can make a significant difference to the kind and quality of life that they lead. So in this video, I actually want to talk about the first situation, which is when our children turn 18 and how they can be set up to have access to a pot of money which ensures that they don't end up being in significant debt when they graduate from university. So in this video, I'm specifically going to be talking about the Junior ISA and how you can use the Junior ISA to set up your children to save money in a tax efficient manner, and not only just save money but invest money. And more specifically, I'm actually going to be comparing the difference between saving money versus investing the same amount of money within a Junior ISA and what that can mean over an extended period of time. Hello and welcome to the Nimble Nomad. My name is Arjun and this is the channel where we talk about money and investing. So in case you have been following me on Instagram and looking at some of the community posts that I put up on my YouTube channel, you may have noticed that I became a father recently to a baby girl. And basically this actually got me thinking about the cost of raising my child, including what she may need when she turns 18. So I did a bit of research and I found that a study conducted in 2019 noticed that basically the cost of raising a child in the UK from the ages of 0 to 18 on average costs about £151,000. Now you add to this with the moment that they turn 18 and they decide to go to university, there's a huge cost that comes on to them or yourself in order to enable them to go to university and probably pursue their career ambition. So in the UK at the moment, the average cost of sending a child to university is capped at £9,250 per year. Add to this living costs that they need to spend depending on their course, if it's 3 years or 4 years, and if they decide to do a master's, then that's even more. And this, in my opinion, is probably the biggest cost that any parent should be planning for, apart from nursery costs in the UK. So in this video, I actually want to talk about how I'm planning to save for my child and give you a view on what your options are. And specifically, I'm going to be using the Junior ISA as a tax efficient mechanism to talk through how you can plan to save money for your child. So the mechanism that I want to talk about is the Junior ISA. And if you don't know what an ISA is, basically it is an individual savings account, an ISA. And I've done a detailed video about this on my channel, so I'll add a link of it there in case you've not watched it. But basically, the UK government gives every person in the UK a specific amount of allowance to save money for themselves and for their children as well. So in the case of a Junior ISA, every tax year you can save £9,000 into one Junior ISA each year. And this allowance refreshes every year until the age of 16, where you've saved £9,000. And for the last 2 years, when they are still considered minors, you are allotted a allowance of £20,000. So this goes up significantly. Now the key thing to remember is that when your child does turn 18, the money is going to be in their name, and the money during the entire period that you've contributed will be locked away, so you can't actually access or pull that money out. But what you can do in a Junior ISA is you can choose to either save it as cash, or you can choose to save it as or invest that money into any asset such as an equity or in the stock market. So this is actually where it gets really interesting. So in doing this research for this video, I actually had to talk to quite a few of my friends and colleagues to try and understand what were the costs of basically going to university and graduating from university in the UK. And this is primarily because I didn't actually go to university in the UK. I went to university abroad, and I went to university on scholarships or on government granted subsidies, which basically meant that I graduated from university with basically no student debt. But this actually is not the same case for a lot of people who go to university in the UK. And my friends have actually told me that even 8 or 9 years after they've graduated from university, they're still paying off their student debt. And in some cases, they actually do not think that they will ever be able to pay off that student debt in their lifetime. And that student debt will have to be written off when they retire or after a certain amount of time. I think that's how government student loans work in the UK. So this got me thinking that this is a massive amount of burden to carry for a really long time in your adult life, especially after you've graduated, because there are many other loans that are due to come to her in her life. So basically, this is where I started asking my friends in terms of what is it that they're doing for their children about, them going to university. And the common answer that I actually got was they were saving money in a junior ISA, but they were saving it as cash. And this was actually quite interesting because the numbers actually don't stack up. So this is where the comparison between saving money as cash versus investing money in a junior ISA becomes really, really pertinent. So in the UK, the cash junior ISA, the best variable, quote unquote, and you need to remember the word variable because I'm going to come back to this later in the video, currently is 2.5%, which is offered by a building society in the UK, if I remember correctly. Now, in comparison to that, if you were to invest that money into equities, for example, the average rate of return from the stock market is about 7%. And this is historically FTSE 100 for the last 100 years. That's the rate of return. If you look at the US stock market, it's significantly higher. So straight off the bat, 2.5% versus 7%, you're basically getting different numbers. Now let's actually look at the numbers using a scenario. So for the sake of argument, I'm going to assume that you start contributing £100 into your child's junior ISA every month for the next 18 years in both scenarios. And in one scenario, I'm going to use the compound interest calculator with a rate of return of 2.5%. And the other scenario, I'm going to use the rate of return of 7%, which is the stock market average. So when you actually end up doing that on the compound interest calculator, in both scenarios, you're basically depositing about £21,600 as your principal for the duration of the 18 years. But when you save money as cash, the output that you get with the constant 2.5% rate on your cash is just £27,000, 457. Now, although that sounds like a lot of money, you have to factor in inflation over the course of the next 18 years. And obviously, the cost of university fees is likely to go up over the next 18 years, not only the cost of living. So when you look at this in comparison to investing money with a 7% rate of return, the return ends up being 43,674. Now that's even more. Your return is basically 21,974, which means you had a greater return than what you contributed in the case of cash. So obviously this is a very numerical way of looking at things. Now, when I spoke to my friend about this comparison between saving money as cash versus investing money in a junior ISA, the common answer that I got from a lot of people, not only my friend, was that the people didn't trust investing money into the stock market versus saving it as cash. Their primary hesitance was the fact that by saving money as cash, there was a definite asset that you could feel and touch at the end of 18 years. And by investing money, there was a very high possibility for them that you could get less than what you contributed. And whilst that's actually true, the amount of time that you're going to actually be doing this for is going to be 18 years. So keep that in mind. So I actually don't agree with this whole concept of just saving money as cash. And there are basically 3 reasons why I don't agree. So the first one is obviously because the money is going to be put in for 18 years. And yes, the stock market goes up and down, but historically for an extended period of time, such as 18 years, the stock market has always gone up. And I definitely think that this trend is going to continue. And the main reason is when you're buying money or when you're investing money into the stock market, you're buying a piece of a business, and businesses generally tend to thrive. And if you do it through a mechanism which is safe, or rather considered in terms of balance, then this risk reduces significantly. And I'll come back to this. The second reason why I disagree with this is because by putting money into a cash junior ISA, you're only getting a variable interest rate. So this is where that word variable becomes really key, because if you remember previously, variable means that this interest rate can go up and it can go down. And the way that this interest rate is dictated is by the Bank of England base rate. So we're currently at historical lows from an interest rate perspective. And although there is a possibility that interest rates may rise in the near future, they can go down as well, which means that 2.5% that you are currently getting is likely to not continue for the entire duration of the 18 years that you put that money in for, which means you will not be beating inflation for that period of time, which means that money will depreciate in value. And then finally, if you choose to invest money into, diversified assets or index funds specifically, so if you choose to buy an index fund rather than an individual stock, then technically you are actually giving your child a pretty safe vehicle for investing money, and those returns are protected through that tax efficient mechanism of a junior ISA. So if you choose to invest in an index fund, and I've done a detailed video on what an index fund is and how to invest in one, you're basically buying a piece of the entire stock market. So all the companies that make up the stock market. So the likelihood of your money going to zero, let alone reducing over an 18-year period, is very, very low. So that's all I wanted to talk about in terms of junior ISA. Personally, I am definitely investing money for my child. I've actually opened up a Vanguard account, which has access to some of these best index funds, which are at the lowest fees for my child, and I'm investing into a generic passive index fund which basically just tracks the market. So my expectation is that over 18 years she's at least going to have a decent amount of money, given the monthly contribution that I'm going to be making from the point that she's basically 0 to the point that she's 18. And when she accesses that, she's got a decent cushion to land on from a perspective of going to university. So that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope it helped you out. If it did, please smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.